surprise her whenever she used to wash dishes in the sink when I was little. She would look out the window and she'd be just stay for a moment. I'd jump up in the air and go, ah. And all I heard was my real name, Ricardo. And I'd make myself scarce. So I'm always surprising my mother, because she surprised me. She surprised me with telling me my birth story. If you've never heard your birth story, what happened to you on the day that you were born, you need to find out. Because of my birth story, I found out that I almost wasn't going to be her son. On the day that I was born, she had decided that she was going to give me up for adoption. And thanks to the Creator and His all-knowing wisdom, there was a black lady, and this is the way she related to me, who told her that she couldn't make that decision until she saw me. Because back then, if you give a child up for adoption, they take the baby away right away. Yeah. So there's no bonding involved. So I was in the other room. And for a long time, this black lady kept telling her, no, you need to see him before you make that decision. You need to see him. So she finally relented and said, okay. She went, got me, brought me in. She took one look at me and saw how good looking I am. Still am. And she decided to keep me. Thank you, Mom. There are significant things that happen in your life. That's one of them. I only learned about it like 10 years ago. I didn't know what my birth story was. But I do remember a very historical moment in my life with my father. I remember being 4 years old and going to court. And the judge looking at my father and asking him a question. And he asked him if he wanted custody of me. 4 years old, I didn't know exactly what the word custody was, but I knew what the word meant when my father spoke. And he said no. So at 4 years old, I decided I was going to take care of me. He didn't want me. I was going to take care of me. My mother and I had a really good relationship. The best that it could possibly be for someone who had a child at 16 years old. A baby raising a baby. This journey that we've been on to understand what she went through when she went to Chemawa is new. It's fresh. It just happened recently. I knew a long time ago when I was little that she went to boarding school, because when we would drive by here, she said that that's where we went. And a couple of times we stopped off and saw the building, or the last building that was there. One time we came and we saw the tunnel that used to go underneath the railroad tracks. And she used to tell us why they built the tunnel. Because Indian children were getting killed by the trains. But what I didn't know was what happened to her. She never talked about it. 2 years ago, I did another sneaky thing. I brought my mother to see my sister, her daughter, for Thanksgiving. They had not had a relationship for a lot of years because of that anger that my mother had. way that she disciplined us. When she disciplined us, all that anger of how it was that she was treated or the way that she was raised or disciplined came out on us. When she talks about abusing us, it wasn't necessarily physical. It was emotional. It was mental. She was a mother. But she could say things, and she could look at you, and she could say it in a way that made you feel like you wished you weren't even born. But I didn't know why she did that until recently. My sister has been probably more of the recipient of her anger than anyone else in our family. I was fortunate. My sister was not. Back to the surprise. Thanksgiving Day, because they had not been together for years. My sister said that she wanted to connect with her. She wanted to heal, come together. So I drove up, picked up my mom, told her I was taking her out for Thanksgiving dinner. It wasn't a lie. Only she was trying to figure out how come we're driving way out into the woods. Wild turkey, Mama. Not the kind of drink either. So it was a great opportunity for them to connect. And there were a lot of other family members who showed up too, so it was a great day. And you know, healing for some women, and I'm not trying to be sexist, occurs in the kitchen. It happens with food. And you know when they say that too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the broth? Well, you know something? That's what brought my mother and my sister back together again, was cooking. My mother sat on a chair right near the outside of the kitchen while my sister was taking direction from her, asking questions. But it worked. And they're together now. Okay. They're healed. Dawn had come to Reading here a couple of months ago and brought the hoop, and I attended the sacred hoop ceremony. And he talked about one of the most difficult things that I have had to deal with, and that's being able to forgive. Not just forgive, but to forgive the unforgivable. There's a power in realizing that, but the power doesn't move anything until you do it. And so I chose to do it. And today, unbeknownst to my mother, didn't know where she was going, there's a great healing that's occurred. All the way up here we were talking. This is really only the third time that we've actually talked about what happened to her when she was here in this boarding school. My sister is hearing it for the first time today. And she's starting to connect the dots. It's starting to fall into place. The puzzle is becoming much clearer now. Why? Because I took the first step. It wasn't easy, but I took the first step. When she talks about another surprise that I did, she went to church with me, but she didn't know what was going to happen. Preacher was up there talking to her. She's thinking I paid him to do that.